Hey guys, this is Ed from Mission Impossible, and with me I have Wyatt, and we're going to be doing a tier list today for the Atari 2600 20th Century Fox games. So we got about 17 of them today, so let's get into it.
Okay. You want to start off today?
Sure, why not?
I often have started lately, so I'll let you.
I usually defer to you. So then now you get to copy my things. So first up we have Alien. So first off, playing this game, it looks very much like just a Pac-Man clone. But after playing it for a little longer, it actually has a little bit more nuance to it. It actually has it looks like a bonus screen that's basically like Frogger, although you can't move left and right. But I will say it is better than the 2600 version of Pac-Man.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I know that's a pretty low bar, but I'm gonna have to probably give it. Let's see. I mean, overall, I didn't particularly like it. I'm gonna have to give it a C though. It was doing some stuff, but I mean, really, it was just like Pac-Man with a couple of extras.
I would say that's probably pretty accurate. Given that the 2600 with its maze games, I will copy on this one because it's.
Yeah, I was having a hard time. It's like
I'm gonna give it a
plus.
I'll give it a B, and we'll see where it ends up landing on the list of Bs. But
right.
It had some cool little things to it.
Yeah.
It made an effect when you would do the screen wrap, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
The moving dot was slightly different. It doesn't have a lot going for it, but it is one of the better maze games that the 2600 had to offer.
Sure.
At least as far as we've seen so far.
Sure. It's just, I had a hard time. My thought is either C plus, B minus kind of thing.
It's pretty similar.
Yeah. Okay, Bank Heist, another maze game. However, I actually like this one, definitely more than Alien. For me, I kind of in that same boat. I would probably go for a B plus maybe kind of range. It was actually pretty fun. Very simple, but the idea of having the little banks that you go after and you can leave bombs for the cops and it had multiple screens you can go through. It had more going on, and
I could see that.
But I found myself having fun playing it, and that goes a long way with these.
I'm gonna give it a higher B as well because it was interesting the way that the gas was a timer. You got more for each bank you collected, and for each cop you destroyed gives you a reason to potentially deal with the cops instead of just always running off. It had something to it.
Yes.
I can't say that it was the best game I've ever played, but certainly I think it deserves to exist.
Oh yeah, no, it was fun. I liked it. Beanie Bopper.
Yes, now you've got to rank the Beanie Bopper.
Beanie Bopper. So you're the olive.
I guess that looks like an eye to me.
Well, I guess on there it looks like an eye. On the screen it looked like an olive. But it was.
I don't know why you're fighting a bunch of helicopter hats.
Yeah, why are you fighting anything like you are? The idea of just being the thing of being able to freeze a guy and then shoot them. There wasn't really much going on. I mean, I guess
I got into it myself as we were playing it, but I cannot say that it was an in-depth game in a lot of ways.
Right.
It fired some sort of dopamine, I would say.
Really?
Because you're getting stuff kind of constant. If you get in line with the collectibles as they're coming down, you can get a bunch of them. It's really easy to get lives. It's easy to go pretty far in the game, seemingly.
Right.
So it's got a certain niche that it fills, but I can't say that it's super exciting.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it under Alien. As far as games that I would go back to, possibly Alien. I don't know if I'd go back to Beanie Bopper.
Sure. I think I'd put it above Alien.
Okay.
I can't say that I was. I don't know. I had enough fun with it, and Alien as much as it's kind of interesting, when I think about it, of Alien games, it's the least that I'm likely to go back to.
Of course.
And of maze games, it's not the most likely to go back to.
Sure.
That mousetrap from the other day was actually probably more likely to do something with that than Alien itself. So.
Okay.
So I hope I didn't rank Mousetrap lower.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember where I put it.
I don't think so. I think it was probably a B or so. Crash Dive. What was that one again?
That's the one where you're in a plane and you go underwater.
Oh, it was the totally not Defender game.
Yeah, and but you can't turn around.
Yes.
And you splash, which had a cool effect. Otherwise, I don't know why the fish are there. And there's either some sort of kaiju or some kind of zombie or
something.
There's some unkillable thing at the bottom, and
which was interesting
stuff.
Yeah, and you collect items like it had like a sword.
Vague items.
Yes,
it didn't have a lot of theming, and I don't really know what was going on.
Yes, I agree with all of that. However, I thought the graphics on it were really good. I really liked you could go up in the sky or underneath. The Godzilla guy, I was like, I don't know how you're supposed to kill him or if it's just there to just block you.
No idea. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a B. Kind of with the idea of I would play that again to maybe try to figure out what's going on. Like, if you're trying to collect all these items, I think it'd be cool to actually try that again. But, yeah, so it definitely has a little bit more merit to me than some of the others. Sure. It looked really good. They did a good job. I really liked
the graphics were interesting.
Yeah.
And I definitely see how you could get into the game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to also give it a B. I'm also going to push Alien down to C as I'm thinking about it more.
Fair enough.
Just because the more I'm remembering all the games that we play, ranking it based on these, the more we look at some of these, the less likely I feel like I'm ever going to go back to Alien specifically.
Fair enough.
Unless you bribe me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You bribe me, I'll do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Most things, not anything.
Anything, wow.
I won't. To be very clear, in case I'm ever in future need of this, I would never do something illegal for money or compromising to my moral values.
Okay, there you go. So is any of these playing to are any of these going to compromise your moral values at all?
Nope. So go ahead. Go ahead and bribe me, and I'll do it. I'll play any of them.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll beat any one of these games for money.
There you go. All right. Next up, Crypts of Chaos. So it was, at the beginning, it was like, okay, what are we doing here? It was very non-intuitive.
And it is continually non-intuitive.
Actually, if you read the manual, it tells you what you have to do. Yes,
it does.
We fought back and forth on this, on the need for a manual. And that's kind of like, well, earlier games like this was, I don't know if it was 82 or 83. It's kind of like, well, they wanted to make more of a 3D kind of action adventure RPG type game. And you're running around in a maze, walking very slowly in a maze.
With very loud footsteps.
And with loud footsteps. That being said, though, I definitely found it interesting. All the different actions that you have. It was cool. I would probably. I'm going to put it in the middle here. It's a good game that I could actually see going back to. The main thing there is really it's a game that you would have to map out. You'd have to have somebody, either you or somebody else. There is no time limit.
No.
So you could sit there and map it out while you're playing.
I think my biggest thing was just I don't know how likely I am to be able to read a map of what we were seeing.
Sure.
It was a little difficult to parse.
Sure.
I didn't really like that it took roughly 30 minutes to turn left or right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because sometimes you can't, and then you're like, I did all that for nothing.
Yeah.
I'll come back. The once you got a hang of the controls, they were pretty intuitive, you know, because you knew them, and so you could incorporate it pretty easy. It wasn't so complex.
Right.
I'm happy that they did it without doing a second controller.
That's always the rub. You know, a lot of these games, they do a second controller.
And it's just never worth it.
No.
I can't say, though, like, I love RPGs and that kind of thing, and dungeon crawlers can be a lot of fun. I just think this one, I am hesitant to put it, I've got to put it above Alien. I think I'm going to put it at a C.
Okay.
Because it has... I like what it's trying to do.
It's very ambitious.
It's very ambitious, and I can appreciate some ambition.
Yep.
It's just not also one that I want to play.
Sure.
Like,
you know,
it doesn't do it for me. It doesn't fill that niche that I like when I play those kinds of games.
Fair enough. I just, the fact that they tried to make something like that is very impressive.
It's very admirable.
Yeah, they have the monsters that get closer to you, they scale up and stuff, and they did a pretty good job with what they could do. There's obviously some changes that I think I would make, like putting left and right on bars if you really want that, or just have it be left and right if you're, instead of, you know, going forward. I mean, I guess the deal is if you're shooting, but the deal is you could go into movement mode if you're not fighting anything, because you can't do anything anyway.
Yeah.
So you could go left and right. So they could have made that a little bit more intuitive. Okay. Deadly Duck.
Yes.
The duck with the gun in his mouth.
Yeah, the duck with the gun in his mouth fighting crabs with bricks.
Yep, that's a sentence that you just uttered.
It is, and it's a perfect description of that box art. You blow that up a little bit and you'll see. Yeah. It literally just is that.
So it does what it says on the box, I guess.
It's got what it says on the tin.
Yeah. Now that being said, is it a good game?
Arguably not, but arguably it's interesting.
I gotta go below Beanie Bopper. I mean, I like the animation of the duck, raising his head and shooting.
Some of the animation was pretty decent.
Yeah.
I liked the way we didn't look at the cover before we started playing. So the fact that we knew they were crabs is something to say about
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know what the yellow bar of madness was.
I don't know. It just kept getting bigger. Yeah.
And that was
faster
just
and
sort of annoying.
Yes.
See, this is the sort of thing where this game had a lot that it seemed like it was gonna do. Like, it had interesting systems put into place that I think could have made it a very interesting game. The bricks going down and stopping your motion are interesting, because that makes you really try to...
That was an interesting thing that
the fact that you can shoot them meant that it also it behooves you to be underneath them and trying to get the bricks as well as the crabs. But on the other hand, the crabs were totally erratic in movement.
Oh, yeah,
almost
really
impossible to shoot.
Yeah.
Then even just the smallest bar of that thing made it annoying, because you would just constantly hit that, because it also was going a mile a minute.
The shield for the crabs.
Yeah, like it didn't help you in any capacity.
Right.
And it just made it even harder, because the crabs are still moving so erratically. If you get a random shot off, you're probably not going to hit anything. So it's a very... As much as it seems fast-paced, it's really slow to move through, also.
Sure.
I think some of the ideas could have been kind of cool if they had fleshed them out in a different way.
Right.
Like, the enemy building something around you that you have to try and kill them before they can trap you isn't an uninteresting idea for a 2600 game.
Right.
They totally botched it, though. Or at least they botched it to a level where it's like, I'm not going to play this over any of the other... Again, it's also just another Alien
shoot game.
Come-down shoot game.
Yeah, yep.
Why are there so many of these?
I don't know, but it's just that...
Can nobody code anything else?
Right. Okay, The Earth Dies Screaming. It's got to be one of the most dramatic of all, titles that we've seen.
It is true. It is.
The Earth Dies Screaming.
It's incredible.
Yes.
Real quick, remind me what happens in The Earth Dies Screaming? Because I'm trying to remember
and it's screaming. No, that one is the one that you have you have a reticle whatever in the screen, the X.
Oh,
and then it
right.
moves it for you.
You're rolling over the checkered plains and...
Yeah,
Okay.
I really like the graphics on it. At least from the bottom part where they're shooting and stuff.
Right.
As you move around on the planet, I've seen other games like that, and they did a really good job with that. The aliens were a little basic. They could have been a little bit better.
There wasn't a lot going on, but they got bigger and smaller, which was cool.
Once I figured out what was going on the screen, I kept going for, like, on the radar. It was not obvious that I was the X, and then you're trying to get to the dots, which are the bad guys. That was a little bit...
It also aims on the X-axis for you?
Yeah, which is weird.
I guess just because they decided the things were moving too much, that you would only be able to shoot it if you only have to control one axis of movement. And it made an interesting visual with the, like, claws opening.
Yeah. And when it got really close, it would shoot really fast.
Yeah. However, it just didn't make for a very enticing gaming experience.
Yeah. I thought they did a decent job with it. But yeah, it wasn't super fun.
But it is predicated on a concept that I don't think it was super grand anyway.
Sure.
Like, their concept was of... again, the Earth dice... Are you killing Earthlings?
Yeah, that was an interesting... how is that the theme there? Yeah. Amazing title for a game, but
if that came out now, I would jump on it, because that would be probably a horror game or some sort of psychological thing.
I mean, I don't know.
But they used the title too early in gaming.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a low B just because I like the graphics. I could see playing that again. It would be nice to, if you could get to the end of a level where you actually kill all the guys.
I think there's probably some more going on there. I'll probably give it a low B myself, just because... maybe even a little above Crash Dive.
Okay.
But it's got some interesting visuals. I do like the idea of, like, you're shooting two beams that come together into a powerful beam.
Right.
That's just kind of a fun power fantasy.
I mean, because one laser's good, but two lasers is that much better.
It makes you feel kind of cool. Yeah. It does a good job at that.
And I really like the graphics of it doing it.
I just don't... I can't rank it much higher than that, because I also just... Otherwise, don't really know what was going on, and wasn't having so much fun that I was blown away.
I think they could have made it so that and I guess they wanted to have it so that it moves up and down. But if they had just done it in the center, and then you be able to move around and move it to where the guy comes into that center, that would have been okay. I mean, yes, would it have been much different than, say, like Star Raiders or one of the other ones? Maybe not, because you have the planet on the bottom. There's
definitely an argument for trying to be unique and doing your own thing. Yeah. But there's also something to be said for if that isn't as fun, it's maybe not as,
Right.
There's a lot there, but I just don't think it capitalizes on enough of it for me to come back to it very often.
Right.
Fantastic Voyage.
Fantastic Voyage. So this is based on a movie.
The shrink down episode of every sci-fi show.
There you go. So the idea is you're shrunk down and injected to a guy that has a tumor, apparently. And so once we figured out that's what we're doing, I had to look up the synopsis for the movie because I hadn't seen the movie. But it looks like you were going through the bloodstream and trying to shoot bad stuff. And it was pretty cool, up until a certain point where when it constricts, those things are moving so fast. I don't know how you could possibly get through there. We both got up to it and we both died in the same exact spot.
Sure, yeah.
And it was just like, and it showed like the EKG or whatever going faster, and he's fighting flat lines or whatever. And it's just like the idea of that was really cool. I don't know how they could have made it better. The concept of it, it's like, I guess, theoretically there's an ending.
Sure, yeah.
You save the guy because you get to like some boss or something. We didn't play it enough to find that. But
sure.
That being said, I thought it was a decent game with an interesting idea for a game. I'm not sure I would say it'd be really fun though. at the end of the day, it was a kind of a canyon type shooting game.
Yeah.
It really is what it is, with a biological theme on it.
Right.
It really is what slapped on it, but that's really what it comes down to. Is it's a shooter, a vertical shooter with walls.
Sure. I think the one thing that makes me want to rank it a little bit higher, I think I'm going to give it a low B.
Okay.
Is that it did also, as much as it was difficult to do, it did kind of encourage an interesting play style of try and kill, destroy as many things as you can, but mostly just try and get past them because you're trying to go fast, because this guy is on a time limit. And there was one point I died, the first time I died, it was way earlier and I hadn't been hit. It's just because the guy flatlined. And it's like, okay, I need to move faster. And so the faster you go, the more you're learning the layout so that you can avoid things. Because it's the same layout every time. It's not randomized or anything.
Right.
It had my attention because of that, in which the shooting is more a means to finding the fastest path, which I thought was kind of interesting. As opposed to just trying to get a high score, you're trying to find the fastest path to actually complete an objective.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting. Of course, it can't go much higher than this because, one, it incentivizes you to shoot everything because it gives you a score.
Right.
And it's like, well, you can't have it both ways. You either let me shoot everything and get a high score, or you let me go.
Right.
Go fast. So it had its ups and downs, but I actually kind of enjoyed their slightly different take on it because of that.
Okay, Fast Eddie.
Oh, yeah.
The ladders.
Why were you called that?
Yeah. Anyway, so Fast Eddie, I think, is just a pretty simplified, platform game in its traditional sense. In the way that Donkey Kong is a platform game. Literally platforms, with ladders. And it was... the jumping on it was kind of crazy. The graphic for the main character was odd looking. I feel like they could have made him look a lot better.
Like, not to spoil where I'm going to put it or anything, but I can't. This is probably my lowest.
Wow. Okay.
From the night, just because. I don't know. Looking at everything else on this list, everything else was, either. Well, maybe there's one other game that might be lower. We'll find out when we get there.
Yes.
But Fast Eddie was not one that I found to have a fun concept.
Right. There wasn't really much.
Not really a concept at all.
Right.
It had enemies that were just immortal death machines. And instead of collecting all the things on the screen and then instantly they'll spawn some more, and it's like, no, you gotta get I don't know, an arbitrary number.
Right.
It's not like it was there are 4 things on this screen right now and it gets harder each one you get.
Right.
That would have been something, but it was just seemingly a random number of a random object, and then
hearts and then fish,
and then you jump over a guy who was tall but is now short and has a key.
Right.
And it doesn't make any sense.
Not much.
But it also doesn't make no sense in a fun nonsense kind of way. I thought this game was just unnecessary.
Fair enough. I mean, there were some aspects that I think that were kind of neat. I mean, how far he jumped and everything, and it was kind of cool, but
those also
doesn't make it a fun game.
Yeah,
I mean,
also a far jump would have been great, but the screens were very small and didn't really facilitate large jumps.
Jumping over an entire screen was, I mean, from that point of view, it was just kind of fun in that respect, but overall it wasn't. For me,
especially because those little guys move fast enough that far jump actually makes it harder to avoid them in some instances.
Let's see. For me, it's a low C. Do I like it better than the duck game? No. I'm gonna put it at a C.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a D just because.
Fair enough.
It was just not. It was a
game.
It was a nut and pizza, right? There's no. It was a cheese pizza with no tomato sauce. It was dry and sticky.
Yeah, there you go.
It was no fun.
All right.
Or at least not enough fun that I think it deserves higher ranking than any of these other games.
Fair enough. Okay, so Flash Gordon. Just a pretty generic shooter. You know, flying around. You know, he had like a shield thing, but we didn't play it very long.
The map was kind of interesting, flying around the map, but there was also no visual cue other than where your dot on the map that you were actually moving.
There was that aspect, though, that is, you at least do have like an objective.
Yes.
And you're trying to go around and trying to get to it. So that aspect was kind of cool.
There's just not much more than that, I think.
Right. It didn't have anything to do, as far as I know, with Flash Gordon. I mean, I've seen the movies, but it's been a while. But, you know, I don't see myself coming back to Flash Gordon. But that being said, it wasn't horrible. They had some aspects to it that were kind of cool. But I'm finding myself, where am I putting it in these? Yeah,
you're stacking C.
Yeah, C is just gonna keep going in. Eventually, I'll have to do something about that. But I'm gonna go there. Okay. Go mid C with Flash Gordon.
I think I can agree with that. Maybe no. It didn't have a lot of personality for a thing that, despite having never seen, I can just feel the personality that radiates off it from its cultural osmosis that I've gotten.
Gotcha.
It just, everybody talks about Flash Gordon, and it's, it's this, and it's that, and you gotta see it, and it's not that way.
That's
not what this is. This doesn't have
shooter.
that same kind of for personality.
Right.
And, we say this a lot with 2600 games. It's like, it was the 2600, they had limitations. Yeah, so just either work within those limitations to make something that actually represents it, because some of the things like Sorcerer's Apprentice did great doing that, or don't make the game.
Yeah.
You don't have to make a game. Making a game is a choice.
Yeah. Well, I kind of feel like there should have been, maybe with some of these guys, a vetting process on some of them.
I think the fact that quality control over the years, bad games still come out, but they come out much differently than this. This came out and is like, well, they might not have run it by a lot of people, because is there a fun value to be had through whatever?
Yeah.
Because a lot of games that come out, even when they're bad, they come out because at some point someone had fun with it and was like, we'll make this, and people will have some level of fun with it.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm being too harsh maybe on the past.
That people is not us.
No. Yeah.
Okay. MASH. Okay, MASH.
Fun.
MASH, I gotta go at least an A. I'm not sure I'm gonna go for an S, but I liked MASH.
I gotta say right here, I very much agree. MASH was fun.
Yeah, because, I mean, we've talked about having multiple screens, multiple things to do.
Yeah.
And definitely it fit the theme.
You're saving people in two different ways.
Yeah.
Like just picking them up and actually performing surgery on different people.
And to be honest, I mean, we've all played the Operation board game. That's pretty much what it is.
And that hasn't really been replicated in a lot of spaces.
And they did a good job with it. I mean, and it's just as fun as Operation would be.
Yeah.
I would say that my only gripe with it is the fact that your time limit is really slow or really fast, and your scalpel moves way too fast. It's like, I want to be able to like kind of feather it and kind of like ease it up or something. Analog would have been helpful, but you don't have analog at that point. But just because it just goes so fast, and like you're in a wall there, and if you just hit it just 1 millisecond too long, you're hitting the edge.
Sure.
And so the controls were problematic there, but the idea of that was really cool. I like that.
I'm gonna say, I need to, next time, I'm going to like bring a whiteboard. Maybe we can hang it up during streams. I'm going to have a whiteboard because this is another one of those games where I think both screens are Mario Party minigames that I would like to play.
Yeah, there you go.
Pick the Shy Guys or the Yoshis up in your helicopter and bring it back before time runs out.
Yeah.
So the highest number wins, and it's like that.
Or the operation.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you gotta, get this thing out of the maze. I don't know. It's just, it fits that really well, and it's a fun competitive game. Yeah. I had fun, we were actually going against each other, and there's a fun competition there.
Right.
I gotta say, it's good. It's the first game out of these so far, which, not to spoiler warning again, but look at what we got left.
Yeah.
20th Century Fox didn't have a lot of smash hits for me.
No.
This is one that I would play again.
Yep, I agree. Okay, Megaforce.
It was a mash hit.
Yeah. Okay, Megaforce.
Balloons.
Yeah. That was a game where you shot stuff.
It wasn't a very good Power Rangers season either.
Okay, well, I can't speak to that, but in this one you're trying to shoot like looked like it was minarets or something, and then,
Was it?
Yeah. And it was also shooting like fuel tanks and stuff.
Oh yeah, this is the one with the jet bike.
Is it?
Right? You're driving around a little bike, and then you can go up. And
I think you're right. I think it is the jet bike.
It had a jet bike.
Okay, that part was kind of cool.
It had a cool graphic.
Yeah.
But again, we can't judge it fully just based on the fact that it had a neat graphic. The game itself was kind of nothing.
Yeah.
Because for one thing, you could go left or right, but there's like nothing to the left, so why would you? You can just blow up some trees and arrows?
Yeah, the arrows. Yeah, it was like, why are you able to blow up the arrows?
The arrows almost made it seem like the developers were like, well, people might go this way, so we'll put arrows to point them where they need to go. Because as soon as you go right from the starting zone, 40 guys descend and try to murder you. There's stuff blowing up everywhere. You go left and it's just, no, I made the game that way. No. You can't go this way. I made the game that way.
Yeah, you're ruining it. Go that way.
You're messing up my game.
Exactly. Yeah,
no.
Bad gamer.
This is my game. You can't do that.
That being said, I guess
what gives you the option?
Yeah. I'll give it points for the the graphic of the guy, your jet bike
It's not
thing.
the worst game ever because of that.
It's not the worst game ever. That being said, now I'm sensing a pattern here. Let's see, where am I going to put it in the sea?
Spin the wheel. Where do I put it in the land of sea?
Well, yeah, I have to go with the games that I hate to go down there. So, that's really the lowest.
It is the lowest.
Yeah.
But, there's still a gradient there. I don't hate Fast Eddie, but I wouldn't play it again.
Let's put it in a low tier OC.
Again, it's a larger bribe to play Fast Eddie than it is Alien.
You have your price list.
I've got a tier list. I'm going to have that right next to my list of... it'll be right there in the middle.
Yeah.
On the left is my price list for games and what my ranking means for what they cost for me to play them.
Right, there you go.
And on the other side, Mario Party mini games that I want to see.
While we're talking about it here, as far as stuff you want to see and stuff you don't, and what I want to see is you guys hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm. I was going to find a way to stick that in there, and I know it's pretty weak, but whatever.
Slap that like button, we're slapping around 20th Century Fox.
There you go.
You don't exist anymore. You got bought by Disney, and you didn't even make games anymore by that time.
Exactly. But it really does help us out, so I really appreciate it. And next, what do we have?
New Mutants wasn't a good movie.
Oh wow.
Anyway,
okay. So we have Porky's.
Oh, Porky's.
So
Porky's was.
Well, I'll say it's my rank, so I'm gonna have to put it on here.
It was something.
It was a game. It was not a good game. The whole, like, pole vaulting thing was ridiculous.
The only problem is you played your hand. Now everyone knows you hate Porkies because you were like, this is for things I hate.
I hate Porky.
You pointed that.
I did. I was actually looking at, I was looking down at the list going, I really, really don't like this game.
It was not an experience that anyone made and tested. The pole vaulting, the fact that, like, it's roughly, even if you're really good, roughly seemingly about 10 seconds of jumping through a bunch of random colored bars until you get plastered across the sidewalk by a car or women or a fish and a kayak and, I don't know, random just nonsense. Random things. And then you fall into hell, apparently. And like Sisyphus, you must try again and again to get out of the pit, but always you will fall back into the pit.
Yeah, it very much was reminding me a lot of the E.T. falling in pits thing. I was just like, At
least E.T. could fly, I guess.
Yeah, he could float down the pit. Yeah, this was just really bad.
It didn't...
Every time that I got...
what does this have to do with Porkies?
Yeah, I know. The controls were the worst thing about it. If you hit the button at a certain point that I still haven't found, and grab a hold of the pole. Now, the problem is, if it would work every time, great. No, it wouldn't. And I'm still trying to find the magic combination of what you have to do
to get
maybe
out.
The manual to try is like, oh yeah, all you have to do is do this, series of movements.
But the series of movements were also really difficult to accomplish. Those poles were, it was difficult to use. And man, I can't believe that, Porky's hour-and-a-half movie and an hour and 20 minutes is just a man in a pit trying damn it. Damn it!
Yeah.
Damn it! I got the brick! I dropped the brick.
Yeah. Let's go get it again and then just keep doing it.
Where are those crabs?
Yeah.
Okay. I need them.
Revenge of the Beefsteak Tomatoes.
I played this game. You mostly just watched it.
I don't think I even played
gotta say, this game is a nothing sandwich. There's nothing.
Wait, we went from a sandwich, or we went from pizza to sandwiches now.
You know what? I also don't know why I didn't say this. Hold on. Rewind, just real quick. Rewind the footage. This is a nothing burger, because that's what you put tomatoes on traditionally, especially the beefsteak tomato.
There you go.
So that's a much better joke.
It could be a tomato sandwich.
All right, roll it back, cut out the thing I just said, and just leave the whole thing. Anyway, Beefsteak Tomatoes wasn't much of a game. I don't know if there were different modes. Like, I don't know if the first mode is just super duper easy mode. I died a bunch of times. No lives ever got taken away and nothing ever stopped happening. And also, like, it's kind of difficult to aim and control your rocket, I guess.
Yeah, it looked like a rocket, yeah.
And
you could go diagonal, which was interesting.
Yeah, and all you're really doing is shooting the colored box at the top of the screen, because that gives you the most consistent points.
Oh.
Because you can just keep shooting it forever. And if you shoot the tomatoes, they give you maybe more points, but there aren't as many of them, and they can kill you. The box can't kill you, so you just keep shooting at it. And you can't shoot like the tomato vines at the bottom that are firing upwards, but they can also accidentally kill the tomatoes that are flying around.
So you might as well not kill them.
Because they almost are more like defense turrets for you. Because there were several times where it's like, oh, I gotta stop shooting the infinite point box. There's a tomato coming at me, and then it would splatter because one of the other tomatoes shot it. And it's like, I don't know what's going on.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna start using the D rank. It just did not hit for me at all.
No, I was just
but not as bad as Porky.
No, not
I mean, you're shooting stuff. And that's fine. At least you're doing something instead of trying to do the stupid pole vault.
Yeah, it had things going on. It's just they never really advanced, seemingly.
Right.
And again, maybe there are different modes, but I really think if your default mode for the game, as you plug it in, you shouldn't have to toggle with a bunch of switches to find the game.
Right.
So I'm gonna.
I don't think that there's anything more than that.
So I just kind of a sad fart of a game.
Wow.
It's like not terrible. It functions. It's just like, oh, nobody cared who made this.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't think anybody really cared. Maybe they did.
Okay. Spacemaster X-7. Cool name.
Actually kind of a cool game.
For me, I'm gonna have to go in the B, just because it was after playing it for just like a couple seconds, you figure out what you're trying to do, and it kept getting progressively harder, but it was interesting from the point of view.
It had an interesting curve and everything.
Yeah, let's see. As far as games I'd want to play, it's definitely a B title for me. I want to go low B, but the idea of it being so that you had to wait around for the like the thing where you don't actually have to wait, you could go around and try to get in there, but trying to get around into the section in the middle,
in the vortex,
in the vortex thing, or not. If you like what I saw you do was different than when I was playing it. Is that I would get in the middle of it and shoot him, whereas you were like just waiting until the thing came out and shoot it.
A couple times, that ended up being better.
But the problem is the health would come back if you don't kill it immediately.
Sure, it definitely has some strategy you can put in it, and as you see, I actually, especially in comparison, because we are ranking these amongst their peers and not necessarily just overall.
Sure,
this is one I would play again, even with those parameters. I thought the game was kind of fun. Every couple of levels, it introduced a new thing that would happen.
Right.
There'd be a new enemy that would fly around, and it had its own pattern and sort of style. Some of them would disappear, some of them wouldn't. And you'd learn that pretty quickly. And it gave you enough lives. I think you started with like 6 lives or something pretty high. And it's like you have enough lives that you can die to an enemy, once or twice.
Right.
And so long as you're consistently progressing levels, you'll get another life back eventually, and you can learn what's going on. It had a good learning curve, and it was satisfying to blow that thing up a bunch of times. And the strategy of sometimes it's better definitely to jump in there. Sometimes it's better to like stay on the edge and shoot it a few times and blow it up, after a succession of burst hits. It did pretty well. I can't say it's the most phenomenal game, but it had style also. Cool. It was a game that I would play.
Yeah.
Some of these games, even if they were made better, aren't games I'd necessarily play.
Fair enough. Turmoil. So this seemed like very much like games that we've seen in the past.
Yep, you're going up and down. There are columns, tapper, things.
It's very much like a tapper game. It definitely had some interesting aspects of, after you get the ring. If you don't get the ring, then it does the insane ping pong. Or, after you get the ring, then you have the indestructible guy that comes after him. I did find myself actually having a fair bit of fun with this one. For me, I would probably go in somewhere in the B's. Let's go with maybe mid B there for Turmoil. It looked good. It had good graphics and stuff.
Yeah.
And I found myself playing it for quite a while. So that's a good sign,
Yeah, I think I can agree with that overall, because this was a game that it was tight for what it was doing.
Yeah. Oh, very. Yes.
It was also very fast if you knew what you were doing.
Sure.
It had some style, had some substance. I think that it was. It was a winner. It's not it's a B game for sure. But it's nice to see that at the end of this, we're coming out, at least on my end, with at least a couple more B's than C's.
Sure.
And although I do have a few D's in there too,
You got a very good bell curve going on there.
It's starting to, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little
lopsided.
Yeah, a little lopsided, but not too bad. Okay, last one. Worm War 1. Not to be confused with Worm War 2 or just Worm War. So you're shooting worms.
And you sure are. And that's all you do.
That's shooting worms. And why anyone would shoot worms? Worms are pretty docile creatures.
You're in a black void. Yeah. Occasionally there's a ship that you blow up and it just resets everything, I guess.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like you were ending the level there. It's just like blanked everything and just brought more worms out.
Yeah, I guess if you're like in danger.
I didn't like I guess that was kind of like the smart bomb equivalent.
But yeah, it also, here's one thing I noticed. If it was the only thing on the screen, you'd go a lot slower, like you have to shoot it.
Yeah, and maybe that was the intent.
I'm not sure, but it didn't make it a very... It was an experience.
Yeah. I also don't like the fact that when the worm gets to the bottom level, you're screwed. You can't do anything. You can't shoot him.
Not really.
Nothing. You're just going to die unless that car or whatever the heck that thing pops up to shoot it. You can't do anything.
Not really.
And so that part, I felt like while I played it for a while, it was kind of mindless. You just keep shooting,
It had a zen quality to it, which I can understand can be fun, but I just don't think it really...
If you'd have been able to move up and down, like Centipede kind of style, that would have been
even just
better.
A little.
Yeah, would have been better. Now, granted, just worms, shooting worms seems
also
odd.
Terribly presumptive to give yourself a 1 title.
Yeah, well, I think they would go for World War I, but it's like...
You could have called it Worm War, and it would have been a better title, is all I'm saying.
Exactly.
Worm War 1 implies something, and this doesn't live up to it, I don't think.
No, definitely not going to get a sequel.
It was not the war that ended all wars.
No, exactly. For me, I'm gonna put it in D. I'm gonna put maybe higher. Well, crap. I'm gonna have to do some rearranging here because there is the Zen quality. So I'm gonna move. I'm
Fast,
gonna do
Eddie.
some rearranging here. Let me do that. I'm gonna even it out a little.
Be honest with yourself.
Yes,
about what these things are to you.
Because I did kind of have fun with Worm War, just from the point of view of it being kind of fun, even though it had problems.
They were this close to making something.
Yeah.
It's just they kind of stopped halfway through that process. It really feels that way. They've got a game that I could zone out to for like an hour.
Yeah.
And that has some merit, but it also doesn't have enough to make me want to do that more often.
Right.
Like, it's not such a great... I wasn't coming up with the answers to the universe while playing it or anything.
Right.
Or, my mind and soul weren't healing. It was just mindless.
Right.
Which can be fun, but yeah. We ended up having pretty similar shaped lists, but very different lists also.
Yep. I mean, I think they were mostly in the general area that were similar, but in some of these they could go either way.
It's almost hard to make a list of these because other than MASH and Spacemaster X-7, for me,
we both liked Bank Heist. We both, a lot of these other ones
they were decent.
Yeah.
But it's just, other than those two, those were the ones, like, when you're in A, it's like, those are games. And we have some where there's like 4 or 5. And B is a huge category. Yeah. B is as big as C here. Yeah. And that's honestly a little bit because we're giving a little bit of favor to some of these because we're comparing them to themselves.
Sure.
As opposed to like...
Yeah, if we were comparing some of the other third parties.
It might be different. It's hard to say. Yeah. We're trying to take it in context, but man, I don't know. It's just, I don't think 20th Century Fox was, they weren't a player that I really am, I didn't like it.
Right.
I didn't like overall what they were bringing to the table because I don't think they were bringing like big innovation.
Right.
I didn't feel particularly. I was very
underwhelmed.
I was very whelmed.
You were whelmed. Okay.
Not even over, under, nothing. I was just Whelmed.
Okay.
It was very like, okay, you guys made games, and that's great. When I asked originally during the stream, hey, did they make any games after this? What happened to them? Well, what happened to them is they weren't very good at this, so they got out of the market.
That's most likely what happened. Yeah, I mean, with the exception of MASH for me, it was kind of like,
Not to say that they couldn't have gotten better, because 20th Century Fox also had a lot of good properties.
Yeah.
And I know they licensed things out over the next years.
Right.
But if they had continued to make some in-house things, I think they could have gotten a lot better. I don't really know when these all came out.
I think it was 82, 83 time frame.
Right. So it was kind of tail end of a lot of this. And it also is like, 20th Century Fox is an established company already.
Sure.
I don't really know if this was the same kind of thing where this is a bunch of industry veterans who were coming and making something they were passionate about because Atari wasn't doing it for them. This seems like a big corporation was like, video games seem kind of big these days.
Throw some money at it and see what happens. Yeah, I think that's...
Put an ad in the paper for a programmer.
Yeah, that's probably... You're very much on the nose there, I think.
So it's like it doesn't have that...
There wasn't a lot of passion.
A lot of these don't have that same kind of passion that a lot of these other games from a Magic and Atari or some of Atari, but Activision definitely. Yeah. It just doesn't have that oomph, I guess.
Now that's our opinion, of course. And you know, if you love 20th Century Fox and you want to argue about our list,
then bribe me about it.
Yeah. As always, be sure to leave your...
Don't bribe me. Yeah. We don't need bribes.
Be sure to put your list in the comments. We'd love to see it. It's always interesting to see what we come up with and what other people do. And, sometimes it's very, very different.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Some people really have very different opinions, and I appreciate that.
Right.
I like seeing what other people think because some people bring up things we didn't know about these games because we aren't, doing a professional game review where we're putting this thing through its absolute paces for until we beat it as much as one can.
These are very much hot takes as far as, as far as we played it for 5 to 10 minutes.
And just because I'm right doesn't mean that it's an in-depth review that you might be able to give us.
Exactly. Truly, me personally, I never owned these games when I was a kid. So I didn't really have much. I mean, I heard of them, but I hadn't played them, so I'm not going into this with any preconceived notions.
No, these were
them, so.
And that's something I have for most of these games that we played throughout this entire series. Is just I don't have some heartfelt nostalgia for a lot of these properties or these games. So I'm enjoying getting to see them for the first time. Mm-hmm. But these are also first impressions that are not based on like. If this is the game you get as a kid, you can find the fun in it. And
that's true.
That might involve, some figuring things out. But
there's something to that, and this is obviously a much bigger topic. But the idea of if you have 1 or 2 games, that's all you got. So
those are your favorite games.
You got to make the most of it. When we have the privilege of having, everything at our fingertips.
Huge libraries now. Yeah.
It's really easy to dog some of these things. But, if that's your only game, it's like, all right, you get it as a Christmas present. You better like it.
Yeah. And
you better, just play the hell of it.
And it's totally valid if you don't, but it makes a difference when it's what you've got. And that can also mean that you explore it enough to figure out like, oh, I need to change this or do this, and all of a sudden it's an amazing game.
Sure.
Like for real.
Right.
But we don't know how to do that, and we don't really have the time to spend on it.
Yeah, and we're not going to do a ton of research to try to figure out how to make Porky the best. How to make Porky's the best game ever.
I need to watch the any % speed run on Porky's.
There you go, exactly. All right, well, that's all we have for today. As per usual, we love you guys seeing your comments and seeing what you guys rank things. So I'm not sure what we have up next, but usually we do Fridays at 12 p.m. Pacific for our streams, and we'd love to see you guys there. So until next time, see you in the next adventure. Take care. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of this kind of content, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. I post new videos all the time and I wouldn't want you to miss any. If you'd like to see more of this series, be sure to click up here. And if you'd like to see something else, be sure to click up here.